His company went and rescued them because we can't do it anymore. We couldn't rescue them. We had to rely on his company, and you don't hear shit about it. You don't hear shit about it. It's crazy.
You know how sometimes someone will say a thing and it just brings everything into focus of what you're looking at? Like you kind of have been watching something and you're like, I feel like I understand what I'm looking at. And then someone goes, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, there it is. There it is. So Joe Rogan has a moment like that we're going to go over. And it's about Elon Musk, the media's coverage of the space station rescue. He goes ham, okay? Like he goes bananas. He's pretty good at keeping his emotions in check. He's in a really weird position. You know, Joe Rogan's in a really weird position now. I can't even imagine what it would be like, especially being me, where if every single thing that I said was going to be scrutinized to the 10 out of 10th degree, that would be a very uncomfortable place for me to be because I say a lot of things, you know, and a lot of things that I say could be taken out of context. A lot of things, like if you wanted to paint me to look like a prick, would not be very hard. And so, you know, Joe has handled that very well, in my opinion, and he tends to try to like he keeps his emotions in check. But this particular topic, talking about how the media covered the Elon Musk space station thing, he snapped. Like he snaps straight up. And so that's going to be what we look at. Now, he also talks about some other things in these clips, but I wanted to show you guys this right out of the gate. This is the first thing that I wanted to show you because it puts it in perspective that like the whole world's a stage. You might think that you know what you're looking at. You don't know what you're looking at, dude. Okay? You might think you know why things are happening. You don't know why things are happening. Unless you think through, like if you understand what the big boys end game is, then you start to understand what you're looking at. And I wanted to show you guys this first. This is Aaron Russo talking about a conversation that he had with one of the Rockefellers, and you'll understand why this is important after we watch.
Well, he was at the house one night, and we were talking, and he started laughing. He said, Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? And I said, I had pretty conventional thinking about it at that point. I said, I think it's about women having the right to work, getting equal pay with men, just like they won the right to vote, you know? And he started to laugh. He said, you're an idiot. And I said, why am I an idiot? He said, let me tell you what that was about. We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib, you know? And we're the ones who got all over the newspapers and television, the Rockefeller Foundation. He says, and you want to know why? He said, there were two primary reasons. And they were, one reason was we couldn't tax half the population before women's lib. And the second reason was, now we get the kids in school at an early age. We can indoctrinate the kids how to think. It breaks up the family. The kids start looking at the state as the family, as the school, as the officials, as their family, not as the parents teaching them. And so those are the two primary reasons for women's lib, which I thought up to that point was a noble thing. You know, when I saw their intentions behind it, where they were coming from when they created it, the thought of it, I saw the evil behind what I thought was a noble invention.
The reason why I think that is such a critical point, like such a perfect way to open this video, and especially the part about what he said about we can only tax half the population, okay? The Rockefellers are a private entity, I thought, right? Right? Rockefellers are a private entity. What are they talking about? Taxing people, okay? The government taxes people, right? So let's connect that thought, since we've now established that the government is an extension of these gigantic families that have run the world through their control of the American government, okay? That right there, that's the big one. We can only tax half the population. Okay, so they're the ones who actually run things, right? Okay, this is the bigger part of what we're going to talk about. And they control the media. There's only 6 companies that control all the mainstream media, and they're all in collaboration. So as we get into this next part of the story, where Joe Rogan is going to go over the space station thing with Elon, and we all know that Trump and the entire movement is the arch enemy of these people, the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, all these people who have run the world forever, and they have been running the American government forever, and a populist movement rose up and ousted their control, and especially Elon. When they're talking about this exact thing, women's liberation movement, well, what they're talking about is how do they brainwash the population? That's what that means, okay? That's what that means. We get the women to believe this and that, and so the kids go to school, then the school and the state controls their minds. That's decades ago. Okay, how do you brainwash the population now? With social media, okay? Elon owns social media. Ooh, you. That's me brainwashing you into subscribing to the channel and liking this video and then commenting your thoughts on the video. They used to control social media through the threat of force from the government. They also used to have indoctrinated leaders in those leadership positions of the social media companies. So both of their modes of control, school, brainwashing, military, the government, have been circumvented and taken away. So Elon, they're the ones who control the media. And so now you can go into any other story understanding you will never see a mainstream media story that is positive about Elon Musk. It won't happen. Everything about him will be negative forever. Okay? If you are watching television and you're watching cable, that is a fact. And this is why. That's why I showed you guys that first, which brings us into Joe Rogan pointing this out in the most obvious example of this in the history of examples of anything. Now, he also makes some very interesting points about the support for violence as well in the exact same vein of what we're talking about here. So I'm going to let him do some talking and we'll comment on it afterwards.
Don't go all the way over there. Stick where most people are. And then there's people that, well, we got to go further left. Then there's people like, we got to take over Tesla dealerships. We got to light cars on fire. The left is like justifying spraying Nazi swastikas on cars. Like, this is crazy. Yeah. They've gone so far over this. So there's one side that's just like radicalized in the worst way possible. That's a huge detriment to the Democratic Party because it makes everyone look like a psycho. If you have a psycho in your groups, like if you have like a white nationalist, Christian fundamentalist burning down black churches and he says, I'm a part of the right, and as a right-wing conservative American, like, whoa, that guy poisoned the right. These people are poisoning the left.
Totally.
All the people that don't want trans kids competing with their kids in school, and they don't want gender ideology being taught in class, all those people who are just rational, normal liberals that have voted Democrat their whole life. They're like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Why are you letting guys into the women's room? This is crazy. A guy with a beard and a dress is in the women's room. This is bananas. Like, what are you doing in the name of compassion? Like, this is fucking insane. That they have to figure that puzzle out because right now they lost to Trump, and they're in this scattered thing where they're trying to shit on everything he does, hide all the good stuff. You didn't hear a peep about Elon rescuing those people. That should have been on all of the news stories all day long. We should have had a live stream of it. It should have been a huge national event. We're finally going to rescue the astronauts who are trapped in the space station for 8 fucking months. And this super genius, this Elon Musk character, is the guy who figured out how to go get them. His company went and rescued them because we can't do it anymore. We couldn't rescue them. We had to rely on his company, and you don't hear shit about it. You don't hear shit about it. It's crazy. You hear a few stories. They're having a hard time coming back, but why weren't they live streaming the whole thing? That's a huge moment. Yeah. You're recovering these poor people. Like, this is a giant special interest story that would grab so many headlines, and it would have so much ratings because everybody wants to see it. Oh my God, they're going to get the astronauts. You'd be sitting on your couch with your family. Are they going to get them? Is it going to dock? Is it going to work? All that shit.
When you really think about it from this perspective, do you guys remember when the submarine was missing, or the sub that went down to the Titanic, and ultimately we found out that it had been crushed? Obviously, everyone remembers that. But there was the moment where we all thought that there was a possibility that they were trapped in that little tin can at the bottom of the ocean, running out of air, in a tight space with like 6 people, with no room to move, without bathrooms, with very little water that would have run out inside the first day. And everyone was captivated by that story. The entire world was captivated by that story. Everyone was talking about it. It was absolutely terrifying for me because the thought of being trapped underneath something that I cannot get out of. We talked about this in my last video I did about the earthquake in Myanmar. And when they were showing the building come down, and they were saying there were dozens of people trapped underneath the rubble. They've rescued some of them, and I guess they were trapped under there for 60 hours. Okay. Well, I said in that video, I'm like, that's like my worst fear, is being trapped underneath rubble. Just absolutely horrifying. They're just horrifying, that thought. I can't watch submarine movies. When that was going on, that submarine story, I like, my stomach was just in knots, just imagining what they were going through. I was so relieved to find out that they had died, because for myself, instant death, honestly, I couldn't deal with it, right? Okay, but do you remember the amount of attention that got? Okay, compare that to this. Like, the reason that there was so much attention on it was everyone getting aligned around a rescue mission. As gross and toxic as people think that humans are, which we are in a lot of ways, there's a lot of toxicity, a lot of envy, a lot of rooting for people to fail. That is a major part of the human experience for whatever reason. But we also have the exact opposite of that inside of all of us, where we collectively want to see people get help. Like, people are in dire need of rescue, and we all pay attention. When those kids were trapped in that cage, and there's this heroic rescue mission where they had to give Xanax to the kids because they're going to have to take them underwater through a cave where they're going to panic. They're going to freak out and panic. So we need to put them on drugs so they're essentially unconscious while we get them. Like, these stories that are just unbelievable. Everyone loves those stories. And this one, these were American astronauts trapped in a space station, and you didn't hear anything about it. Now, we knew that they were trapped up there, but it was just kind of like in passing. Oh, are we going to go get those astronauts? Okay. So what you know is that you always think the mainstream media runs on what's going to drive ratings, right? Because a lot of it is that. A lot of times it seems like there's a bigger thing going on than others. A perfect example would be like all the airline crashes, or like, problems with the airlines recently, right? So, near miss, and here's a crash here, all that stuff, right? It's like, I'm sure there have been more than normal, but when you take into account the number of flights that happen every single day, it's like there is definitely a part where the media is like, okay, we're doing planes now. Like, any big story about a plane accident, give it to us, and they run it because it's getting ratings. Okay, well, this is the biggest story ever. Now, we all know that the Biden administration specifically said they did not want Elon's help. Okay. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I don't know that there is a counter narrative to that, which had to do with that even the astronauts were like, oh, it's not political because we need some. Basically, what the counter argument to Biden just doing it for political reasons, which is what Elon said, was that they needed someone manning the space station. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. Okay. But what I do know is that the people who control the media, who almost certainly knew that the way we were going to have to rescue them was probably leveraging SpaceX technology, that's why this was not a bigger story from the very beginning. Okay, this is a calculated maneuver that they made to not cover this story the way that they would have covered anything else, as we know from historical record. Why would 6 random people stuck in a submarine be a bigger story than 2 American astronauts stuck at the space station, and we have no idea how we're going to get them back? It's the exact same story, except a better one, right? And exactly to Joe's point, if they would have made a big deal out of it, this would have been this gigantic, huge, incredible rescue. Okay. And it's not like they didn't know it was coming, because check this story out. Okay. Watch this. This is a month ago. Okay. It's not like they didn't know.
You mean those people that are stuck in the space station?
Yeah, that's coming up in a couple of weeks, I think.
Whoa. They've been up there for how long, Jamie? They were supposed to be there for a couple of days, right?
I think actually probably 4 weeks. Oh, they're supposed to be there. They were supposed to be up there for like 8 days.
Yeah.
And they've been up there for like, I think, 8 months. So a little longer than expected.
Fuck.
Yeah.
What is it going to be like for those people when they get back? They're going to be a wreck for a long time, right?
Yeah, if the longer you stay up there, you get, sort of in zero G, you get increased bone loss. So it ended up being like this.
I'm going to do something like with a video like this where I've done a lot of preparation. I don't normally do this, but I am going to stop real quick and look at this, dude. Look at that. Isn't that insane? Look at her, man. She looks like she's aged 20 years. They were up there for less than a year. Look at the top one of the girl. I mean, the guy, he's got a helmet on, so you can't really see as much. But the girl, I mean, Jesus, man. No, people waste away if you take them out of the environment that humans are supposed to be in. But anyway, let's continue.
Political football. And sort of hotly contested topic. We offered to bring them back early. This offer was rejected by the Biden administration.
Why?
For political reasons.
That's so crazy.
There's no way that they're going to make anyone who's supporting Trump look good.
Wow. What do you think they would have done?
I don't care what anybody says. I do believe that. Whether there were other reasons or not, I absolutely believe that. For all the reasons that we've discussed.
If they had won.
Well,
how'd they get those people back?
no, they can only get them back with a SpaceX spacecraft, but they pushed the return date past the inauguration date.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they would have let you do it, but after the
Yeah.
wow. And so it would have been them authorizing you.
Well, there isn't
to do
anyone
it.
else to do it.
NASA can't get them.
The only the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft is the only one that is considered safe enough to bring them back. So the NASA concluded that the Boeing spacecraft was not safe. So that's why.
Hey, shocker. Hey, would you want a Boeing spacecraft in charge of your life right now? You know? Hey, you know what they should do? Like, really smart way for Boeing to go rescue them is they could have put all the whistleblowers in there. They're like, look, guys, let's just make good. Okay, here's the deal we're going to sign. All right. We will pay each of you $1 billion as soon as you get back from the manned mission that is going to go to the space station. So you guys, all the Boeing whistleblowers, we're going to get you guys onto the spaceship. You guys go up, you rescue these guys. It's going to be easy, guys. We've done this a million times. We just need a couple people to man the spaceship. You're going to go rescue the astronauts. When you get back, you're billionaires. All right? We'll all shake hands. And then actually, we will acknowledge that every single thing that you guys are saying is true. Right after you get back, they sign the contract. At the bottom, it's all, if they're not alive, then this nullifies the contract. They're all right, let's go. And then the doors fly off in space. You know, traditional Boeing quality control issues, and they die. You're all... Wow, that's the most creative way to whack, whistleblowers I've ever seen. You tricked them into a $1 billion rescue mission that you knew was going to fail because your rocket's a piece of shit.
Why they're stuck there.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And you can't ask Russia to help.
That would be awkward.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be a nice thing if they did. They said, guys, we'll
Oh,
help.
they would have said yes for sure. They'd have said yes for sure. Because what is that? You know what I mean? Like, if you think that Russia would prioritize like the death of 2 American astronauts over the clout and prestige on the global stage it would bring if America had to admit that we did not have the technology to go rescue our own astronauts, and Russia's like, we got it. We got that. And if you think if you think I'm like misjudging that, I would direct you to the space race, the moon landing that definitely was real for sure, because the space race was all about global prestige. Okay? Global prestige. We also were in the middle of a very, very bizarre moment in history. If you want to see how weird it was, I would encourage you guys to go watch the documentary. Actually, for many reasons, go watch the documentary Fog of War, where McNamara talks through his history and government. And if you don't know who McNamara is, I'm not going to educate you right now. One of the most important people in American history. But he talks through what we were thinking during the nuclear testing phase in the nuclear arms race. And he said something, it was like something like the Joint Chiefs of Staff at one point when we were trying to negotiate a atmospheric test treaty to where we weren't going to blow up any more nukes, no more nuke tests, because we had done obviously if you guys have ever looked up the videos, we've done quite a few, and so we were trying to ban them. And what the Joint Chiefs said to the president was, well, the Russians are just going to go and test them behind the moon. Okay? That's what kind of like outer space that we, hey, pun intended, that's what kind of outer space that we were living in. If you think I'm making that up, go watch that documentary. You think McNamara knows better than you? Probably. I mean, yes, he does, actually.
Oh.
I think that for enough money they would.
You think so?
Yeah. But they would obviously treat it as a propaganda victory and charge crazy money.
There it is.
It's just disgusting that they would use that as a political tool.
Yeah. So, well, they were also, the Biden administration was also suing SpaceX. They had this massive lawsuit against SpaceX for SpaceX not hiring asylum seekers.
Right.
So people say oh, Elon's making it up. The Biden administration wasn't against SpaceX. I'm like, bro, the Department of Justice had a massive lawsuit against SpaceX for not hiring asylum seekers, even though it is illegal for us to hire anyone who is not a permanent resident. So it is.
Oh, gee, I wonder if that lawsuit started after he bought X or not. See what I'm saying, you guys? You guys understand? He bought X. He got control of the brainwashing mechanism, and then boom, he instantaneously became the enemy of the previous masters of the universe. Okay? Think about your opinion. If you're one of these people that hates Elon, go back before he bought X and see if you feel like your opinion, go read some stories from 2019 about Elon and be like, how did I feel about that? Oh, weird. Okay, like I know some of you are still not self-aware that your opinions are being shaped by mainstream media. If you still have cable in your house, okay, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having cable. You just need to be aware that if you have cable and you watch cable news, that your opinions are being shaped by the Rockefellers, okay, the ones who had the women's suffrage or the women's lib, okay. Now I wanted to bring you guys over to this too. So this is later on in that same podcast, and Joe is talking about the paid people who are attacking the Tesla, or being paid to protest and all that stuff. This is a fantastic sequence that I am very excited to show you and comment on, and I would highly encourage you guys to sit and watch this. If you're getting antsy, just sit tight and listen to this. All right, here we go.
They're going to go with Bernie and AOC. And that's why they've been AstroTurf in all these giant arenas for people. They're claiming they did an analysis of, find out if this is true, because I read this on X, and sometimes the community notes doesn't get there in time. But they were saying that they claimed there was 30,000 people, but they got all the cell phone data, and they found out there was 24,000 cell phones. So they fudged it a little bit. That sounds normal. But they also said that a huge number of these people had been to 20-plus events and a lot of other different progressive events, and it seems like, at least on some of them, for sure, they were paying people. So they're giving people money to get on a bus, go to this place, here's your sign, go have fun. And so you're doing something different, right? You're pretending that these people are all coming out to see you, but they're coming out to see you because you're giving them money and free food.
Right.
And, you handed out water bottles and everybody gets a sign and everybody seems like they're kind of a part of a team. And for a lot of losers, a lot of people that don't have things going well in their life, and what do we, I was a loser at many points in my life. If somebody called me up and said, hey man, you want to make $400 and just go to this Kamala Harris rally? I'm like, yeah, let's go. I would 100% go. I would 100% go with no political. And then I'd probably think she's cool. And I'd be like, yeah, I'm fucking voting for her, dude. He's Hitler. That guy, we gotta stop Hitler. And I'd be holding up that stupid sign. If you found me when I was 21, 100% I would have taken that $400.
Yeah.
They were giving out $1,000 for people to protest. I think it was Tesla. I'm not sure about that, but I think it was Tesla. But so they had the rules of engagement. If someone comes after you, hit them in the body. Don't pick up an object unless they pick up an object first. Like, are you organizing gangs? Are you guys paying money for people and then literally saying to them, here's what happens if you engage in violence? Why is that even on the table? I thought you guys were peacefully protesting.
I could tell you exactly why. It's because these are the exact same people who intentionally create social unrest to make it appear like the leadership of the country is responsible for that. Okay? This is not a complicated equation to put together. Go back to the women's lib movement, okay? There are reasons for things that happen that might seem organic that are absolutely not organic. The Black Lives Matter movement during 2020, okay? There was so much going on that was so obvious that they were conflicting things, right? Stay in your house, okay? Put on your thing. So we can brainwash you. We can just pound you with propaganda. But also, you cannot leave your house. However, racism is a human health crisis. So if you do leave your house, definitely go to a Black Lives Matter thing, and you could definitely get as close to people as possible. Mask, no mask, doesn't matter. What matters the most is that you're screaming as loud as you can. Spit on everyone. Burn things down, okay? Because they wanted to appear like the America that existed under the current administration was in absolute sheer chaos, and that was a result of the administration. The bricks, remember, big piles of bricks. These are real things that happened, okay? Now, I realize the same mainstream media that'll convince you that Elon Musk is this toxic character that's blah, 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 would make it out like the piles of bricks were not real. Same mainstream media that told you Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation, or that Kyle Rittenhouse was a white supremacist who shot a bunch of black protesters. Okay, they overplayed their hand. That's what that's bottom line. They overplayed their hand. They were in mercenary murder mode of this type of game, and they overplayed their hand to where if you tell everybody that a kid who, like the Kyle Rittenhouse story, if this blows up in your face and everybody figures out that who he actually shot was a convicted child rapist who had been out of prison for 1 day and also threatened to kill him on video and used the N-word while doing it, who was also white. Okay, you're going to have a real hard time getting smart people to believe your bullshit ever again. And that is what they did. Now, to me, it's as simple as this. Okay, this is how you know, or this is what determines where people are getting their information. Okay, the more people are on the internet, the less likely they are to believe the mainstream media, and not because they're being brainwashed by disinformation as they would tell you on the mainstream media. It's because on the internet you find out what's true, and then you go cross-reference it with what was on mainstream media, and you're like, oh, they're lying. They lied. That's an overt lie, and they're doing it. And then you catch them 3 times. You're gonna stick around for the 4th time? Give me a break. Okay, if you watched my show and I told you that Joe Rogan was a secret member of some terrorist group, and then you found out that was made up, what are you going to think next time? Okay. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people, like people in the comments are going to be like, that's all you do is put disinformation. Anyone who says that, okay, you see that in the comments, here's what I encourage you to do. Click on their icon and then see how many comments that they have on my channel. Every time it will be 100 plus, okay? Every time. These are professional Jesse on Fire trolls, and they're probably, each person who does it probably has like 20 accounts. But every time that you see a thing like that, they all have commented on my channel 100 times. And the reason I bring that up is because no reasonable person is going to come back to a channel where they've been lied to before, okay? Now, I might, get something wrong, but obviously it's an unintentional thing. That's why people come back, okay? Now, you also might see these super clever people. Now, you check the next one and it'll say 1 comment. Oh my God, I wonder if they created a new account to do that. Okay. But my point, I'm just trying to illustrate the point. They destroy their credibility. Okay. And as it relates to this Tesla thing and, here are the rules of engagement. Of course they want violence. That's exactly what they want. They want it to seem like if you buy a Tesla, you are in danger. That is their intention. That's why they're doing it. They want to destroy his business. They want to take away his power. He is a massive, massive problem for them. The biggest problem they've ever had. Certainly, in the last 100 years. Yeah, we're talking about the Rockefellers, guys. 100 years. Yes, correct. Anyway, that's probably enough for today. And, I'm sorry. I take that back. I wanted Rogan to also make this point.
Who's going to get how many pro-Tesla fucking hooligans are out there that have beaten people up for Tesla? Is it fucking 0? I have not seen a bunch of pro-Tesla gang members out there. So what are you going to encounter with this anti-Tesla movement? The
You are going to be the instigator because they told you to.
Police? Like, who's going to stop you from who's going to engage with you? Like, you're kind of talking in a way that at least puts it on the table that violence might take place. And you're paying people.
Yeah. And because they destroyed language, now
they literally are paying you so it feels like a job, and then they're giving you permission to be violent. It's as simple as that. That's what they want. Now, in a second, the point Rogan's going to make is, like, there are no reasonable people who are going to fight over Tesla. Like, that's not a thing, right? Except these people who take money to go protest are not very rational people. They're either unemployed who are down on their luck, which is fine, dude. I would have taken that job when I'm unemployed for sure, right? Well, maybe I would. I don't know. But you get the point that I'm saying. But then there are these like really unhinged people who are very happy to fight with their adversaries. And what I'm saying is like, okay, and he says like regular people. I just think it's really poignant to point out that Rogan is a human killing machine, okay? He could kill you with his bare hands 25 different ways. I could too, okay? And my point is to us, the thought of violence is absurd. Like out in public, fighting over Tesla, that's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. What time? It's noon. In a few hours, I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu class and learn how to strangle a person to death. which is what I've done 5 to 6 days a week for the last 5 years. Prior to that, learning to kick your leg so it folds into two. Kick a person who doesn't know how to defend it. They fall down and they can't use their leg for a week. Okay, like, and I would never do violence. I would never do that in public. Never. It's unhinged lunatics who think that violence in the street is normal. The only way that would ever come into play for a person like me is if one of them attacked me, which I think would just never happen. These are people who are like outside of societal norms. It's not normal. Anyway, now that's enough for today. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell. Bye-bye.